I have been traveling with Out of Office for almost a year now, and there is one populated continent that I haven't been to until now. I'm finally in Africa. We're on the southern tip. This is Cape Town, and please meet Carla.
Albert, Andrew.
It's so nice to meet you in person.
I know, I can't believe it. Finally.
Finally here.
We're at Table Mountain at the Cape Town, and we're gonna head to one.
Wow, I have to say, Cape Town really turned on the charm today. This is insane. I can see why Table Mountain just got named one of the 7 wonders of the natural world. Tell me about Cape Town.
Cape Town is considered one of the biggest tech hubs in Africa and attracts a lot of remote workers from around Africa. It's a very eclectic city. Some would call it a melting pot of all different cultures from across the world, but it's one of those cities that really sticks in your mind, and for remote workers particularly amazing because of its diversity.
Is that an island out there?
Yeah, that's Robbin Island. So that's where Nelson Mandela was imprisoned.
We set up here, ready for our chat, and voila!
Fuck, rolls in.
The wind is picking up though. It's a crazy day. And actually we had some other plans that would have been wild.
Yeah, we were planning on going paragliding, but that didn't quite pan out today.
I can't possibly imagine why. It would have been amazing though.
Yeah.
So tell me a bit about your history.
I've been remote working for 15 years. I came out of university and went straight into remote work. Once I realized it was available to me, I chose it. I wanted more autonomy. I wanted to be able to work as much as I wanted. I wanted to build my own life.
Yeah, I meet a lot of people who stumble into remote work, but it's interesting to hear that that was clearly part of what you were setting out for. You were seeking that. So what do you actually do?
I'm a content creator and a producer and a writer. I work with analytics and with artificial intelligence, and I grow audiences. So it's just about finding the balance of what works with what the audience wants from you, and yeah, finding those triggers and scaling.
Have you always wanted to work in that space?
I was very fortunate in that coming up through my career, I got windswept and helped about.
I got blown away.
Literally.
Let's take a moment.
Yeah.
It's crazy thinking how our intentions of a recording with a view was scuppered by that incoming fog, and yet we get down here and you would never know what the conditions were like up there. Tell me a little bit about yourself.
I started off as a writer.
Mm-hmm. What kind of writing?
Oh gosh, I started with poetry actually. I just got this idea that I wanted to be like a big famous writer, and sort of pursuing it very seriously. Mm-hmm. I sent my first set of stories off to the publishing houses when I was 9 or 10 years old. So
that is starting early.
Yeah, I was extremely ambitious.
Was your pursuit trying to write the best thing you could write, or the fame and fortune?
I think mainly the fame and fortune. I mean, when you're young.
10-year-olds' priorities were a little askew.
But that led me to exploring what I wanted to do as a creative person. I used to do a lot of music, a lot of art, and I was just a natural born creative. So by the time I got to university, I studied film and English literature and languages and media and journalism as well. And basically got a content creation degree before it was even a thing.
I love that, like a Renaissance human.
I was the only person I knew back then who was working remotely. I didn't know anybody else. It was new, foreign. And whenever you mentioned it to somebody, they would be shocked and think you didn't have a job.
Working from home is like, being a telemarketer.
I mean, obviously that's not what I was doing. I was working very hard and figured out how to be creative in the digital realm.
How do you find it being a creative person with such an artistic mind operating in the business world?
It was a challenge. If you want to do something on the virtual world, you have to know so many additional steps. Mm-hmm. So it's just been a career of upskilling, having to level up my analytical abilities to be on that level. But now I would say I'm both.
So you've worked on some really cool things. Can you tell me a bit about some of your favorite projects?
One that stands out is I worked for very large Silicon Valley on Beijing, one of the world's first augmented reality shopping applications.
That's cool. Have you been involved with any other world firsts?
I created South Africa's first content marketing course for the C-suite with Get Smarter and UCT. I got to create an entire e-learning course met some amazing people that worked for huge companies like Cosmopolitan Magazine, Entrepreneur Magazine. And as a ghostwriter, started publishing on the really big publications. And some of them were Entrepreneur Magazine and Forbes. And they did amazing things for the careers of the people that I was writing for.
So you've been working remotely for over 15 years. You've accumulated a lot of knowledge in that time. And to speak to the elephant in the room, I haven't just met you. We have been working together for over a year, and you've actually been instrumental in the success of this show, Out of Office, as well as Crossover's Radically Remote newsletter, which comes out bi-weekly. And you call yourself a content creator. That's a crowded space. How do you tell the difference between great content and the creators of terrible content? Like, what are the main factors to differentiate?
There's two types of content creator. You have your content creator who is very audience driven, and they want to be famous.
Like 10-year-old Carla.
And then you get the other types of content creator who's more value and mission driven, and they want to create good stories. They want to find the audience and genuinely help them. And you can see the difference. There's always something in every content creator. They have that thing that hooks you in. And if you don't have that, that's what makes you a bad content creator. That's what makes you bad with content.
What is that for you? What's the Carla touch?
To go against exactly what I just said. It is just the dedication to trying to understand the audience and using the latest tool sets to optimize what you can do.
What's been the highlight of working on Out of Office for you?
Watching you work has been great because the way that you work, it teaches me things that I don't know. And for a remote worker who isn't in contact with so many team members all the time, it's so valuable to have somebody you learn from that constantly gives you that feedback and that inspiration that you need to create great work of your own. And that's what makes it extraordinary, I think.
Do you still wish that you were a famous writer, or have things worked out better in the end?
They've worked out better. I wouldn't say in the end, because I think that I'm turning the pages in my own book and my own story, and every chapter's new. So I discovered myself through the internet. I found myself there in the sense that I knew that that was exactly what I wanted to do for the rest of my life.
It's interesting that you mentioned that, because our generation is the only generation in the world that lived before the internet but are still digital natives. And it didn't occur to me that that same principle would be true with the rise of AI, of course. And we're a generation that learned our skill set completely prior to the existence of those tools, the old-fashioned manual way. And now we have this opportunity to reinvent ourselves. And I like to talk about AI like a jetpack, where you get the opportunity to, go in the direction that you're heading so much faster if you just learn how to operate it. Can you talk to me about how AI has impacted what you do?
Well, it's exactly as you say. It's an accelerator, right? It's almost like a mirror. So whatever's inside is going to be amplified. There are so many ways to incorporate artificial intelligence in your work that can really take it to the next level. And I think people are so afraid of it, and they're so afraid that it's going to rob them of what they currently have. And that's tragic, because if you're a creator, it's only going to make you better. It's only going to make your output better. And you're never going to learn how unless you're actually doing it.
Well, no one can take away your personal quality bar, right? No one can force you to release something that you believe to be substandard. Can you talk to me about that jagged frontier of humans working with AI without compromising their quality bar, using the parts of AI that can accelerate without compromising the things that they can deliver better as a human? How do you approach that?
It's about trial and error. I think first you have to overcome the fear, and then you have to be willing to take risks and to create a bunch of nonsense and bad work. And I think that's integral in any creator's daily work routine. It's just that now it happens on a much grander scale. So it's about understanding that your quality bar is not going to be the same. Everything's different now. Artificial intelligence is going to change everything that you create. And how are you going to work with it to make yourself better?
What are some of the best problems that you've solved through AI?
Well, my favorite problem is how do I scale something really quickly? Creating a piece of content that is always going to connect with your audience, always going to incrementally grow over time in a reliable way, right? Because artificial intelligence can be integrated in your strategy, in your content, and in your analytics processes. And that's really valuable because nobody's got time to be 17 different things if you're a creator. But now you can be all of those things. It's simplified. And it's just about finding a process that works for you.
Let's talk about search engine optimization a little bit more. No one has a crystal ball, but if you had to predict what is the future of SEO going to look like? Are we still going to see that importance on creating written content that ranks and gets domain authority, or will it completely change the game?
I've always seen the future of SEO and of artificial intelligence, where we're going to have little floating companions that are personal and are just talking to us all the time. I really think that is the future.
I'm just imagining Ash from Pokemon with a little Pikachu right now.
Literally. I really think it's going there, where we're all going to have those personal assistants, but they're going to be anthropomorphized, like whether we have little robots or something. For the short term, we're using it to accelerate scale, to take what is known about search engine optimization and make it better. But we don't actually know what the next steps are. There's going to be a lot more verbal, personal interaction with search engines in ways that we can't really anticipate right now. There's always going to be value in search. I don't think we should discount SEO, even if it's in its early form now. It's always going to exist. People are always going to be looking for things. It's just how.
What would your advice be to someone watching this who wants to be in the content creation space, becoming a big-time content creator that works remotely, internationally, just like you? Should you focus on creativity or focus more on the analytics and the metrics? Which direction should you focus on upskilling in order to succeed?
Both, really. The one can't exist without the other. If you're one person and you're trying to create content that's going to make an impact, because that's what you're trying to do, it's the virtual world, right? If nobody sees your content, it doesn't exist. Focus on making your work the best that it can be, but don't put your work in a void. You need feedback from your audience. You need to know what they're looking for, because that's who you're creating for.
Who are some of your favorite creators?
Oh, I have so many. There's some really exceptional people out there right now. Mark Manson is one of them. He wrote this stuff art and not giving a fuck. Just that message was so great. And then he figured out how to translate himself onto the internet. So few authors can do that. It's so admirable. So find your thing.
What do you think are the most common mistakes that people make in this space?
It's very common with creators, where they spend all of their time and effort doing one thing instead of trying to find that really special thing. Instead of being somebody who is a generalist, which is always seen as a bad thing, you've got to focus on that one thing. And the thing is, being a generalist as a creator is an exceptional skill these days. It opens up a world for you, and it gives you freedom that you never would have had if you were a generalist in the real world without the internet.
It's kind of the inverse of to a hammer, every problem is a nail, right?
Yeah.
The more skills that you have, the more problems that you know how to solve with different kinds of tools, the more versatile you can become. Whatever it might require, you're able to come up with a strategy that's smart and that actually achieves the results that are needed. So it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. You've got to experiment and you've got to try things.
Carla, it's been so wonderful getting to actually have a conversation with you. I want to ask, before we wrap this up, is there anything that you want to say to our audience while you have this platform?
I'd love to say, if you have an idea about who you want to be as a content creator, pursue that idea, but don't be closed off to other aspects. Don't be closed off to other avenues, and always explore yourself through other creators. That is the best thing you can do for your career as a remote worker.
Beautifully put. Well, the future of work is
out of office.
Cheers.